What is up, everybody? This is Dominic Syracuse with the WOW Original Podcast, broadcasting live from the Wyoming International Film Festival. We are here on the red carpet. We are super happy to be here. I am here with some WYO original filmmakers. Could you guys tell me your name and the film that you are a part of?
Yeah, so my name is Jiayoung Liu, and I made two films, The Sun Rises Differently and The Bystander.
That's really cool. So you're here with two films for the Wyoming International Film Festival. How long are the films that you're showcasing?
Okay, so The Sun Rises Differently is about 15 minutes long, and the
Okay.
other one is about 7 minutes.
Okay, so we have 15 minutes. So you're broadcasting two short films.
Yes, yeah.
That's awesome. And I see you have a wonderful guest with you here today. Who's your guest?
Hi, I'm Faith Ember Roden, and I was a production assistant for The Sun Rises Differently and a producer for The Bystander.
That's amazing. So I understand you are both grew up here in Wyoming. What part?
Casper.
So you both made the drive down from Casper?
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome. But you're originally from somewhere different. Where are you from?
I was born in Beijing, China, and I came to the States when I was 7. I lived on the East Coast for a few years and then came to Wyoming.
Oh, right on. What part of the East Coast were you from originally?
DC.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So how long have you been in Wyoming?
About, I think, 7, 8 years.
Okay,
Yeah.
right on. Now, let me ask you, how long have you wanted to be a filmmaker?
Man, I think ever since I was in 5th grade and I discovered iMovie is when I felt like I wanted to do this for a living. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you're just playing around with the iPad or the iPhone?
Yeah.
What was the very first film you remember making?
So there's this trailer feature that you just put in clips on iMovie and it makes this trailer. So I made this like little trailer for a horror film about a hamster, and that was the first ever thing. Yep.
That's amazing. That's really cool. Was it your hamster that you had? Did you have a hamster that starred in the film?
It was my friend's hamster.
That's good. You're just like, hey man, I'm gonna need to borrow your hamster for a little bit. Is that okay?
Basically, yeah.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So tell me about the two films that you're premiering at the festival.
Okay, yeah. So the first one, The Sun Rises Differently, it's a film about these two brothers who have to go through change, where one brother is accepted into a top university and the other brother is still in high school, and he's scared where his future is going to go without basically the one he grew up with. And it's a coming of age story. And then the other one, it's called The Bystander. It's actually for the 48-hour film festival. So
Great.
And it's about this, it's a thriller film of this guy who witnesses a murder in this cabin, and he basically wants to film the entire murder take place, so he follows the murderer around.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool. Where'd you come up with the concept of the two films?
Man, the first one, I kind of took inspirations from my own life. Even though I'm like an only child with no brother, I still can feel like after getting into college, things are becoming different, right?
Mm-hmm.
My friends are, some of them, becoming distant, and things are just changing. So I wanted to make a film that kind of encapsulate the feeling that I was going through. And the other one, I think it was just, I always had an idea, like, it would be super interesting to make a film about this filmmaker who's just so crazy that he wants to capture a murder on camera.
Right.
So I just thought it was just fun to do.
That's amazing. That's really cool. And now, Faith, did you have any interest in film before these two films? Have you been doing film for a while?
Yeah, so I've been doing film since I was in 5th or 6th grade.
Oh, wow.
I ran my middle school film club. I started it, actually. And then,
the founder.
Yeah, I guess. And then I started like competing in film festivals with the Cheyenne Youth Film Festival when I was in 6th or 7th grade.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I was 12 or 13, and I've just been doing that film festival ever since. And it brought me here last year with my movie Pieces, which Jiayoung helped with. And then I think it kind of just took off from there.
Oh, that's awesome. And so you were a producer and production assistant on these two films, or just the one?
Yes, on both of them. So I was just a production assistant on The Sun Rises Differently for a couple of scenes. It was very cold when we were filming. It was
in Wyoming. I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a second, actually.
Yeah, and then We just finished filming for the 48-hour festival in June, and so we only had like a day to film, and it was a little crazy, but we got it done. I mean,
Yeah,
it
no, we did.
Absolutely. That's the most fun part. For those watching that don't know, every year we do a 48-hour film festival where we give filmmakers 48 hours start to finish to create a whole short film. So you can't start writing the script until the time starts, and in that time you have to write the script, shoot it, direct it, edit it, and turn it in all within 48 hours. And that's going to be premiering tomorrow at the festival in the morning. Do y'all have some friends coming out for that one?
We have a few, yeah.
Great. Great. I can't wait to see the films. So now let me ask you this, because you're both quite young, which is very exciting to see. How old are you two, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 19.
I just turned 18.
Oh, well, awesome. Now, here's what makes me so happy about this, because especially in our modern time where things seem to be moving much more digital, right? Everything seems to be moving towards things like TikTok and YouTube and all of that. That's where a lot of viewership is with the younger crowd. Where do you see yourself going as a filmmaker? Do you see yourself moving more towards the short-term content creator space, or do you see yourself moving more long form into big film production?
Well, me personally, I really like combining both of them actually.
Really?
So I have this YouTube channel that I put my films on and also share a lot of like tips and filmmaking advice on there as well. But I also really want to do a lot of, feature films in the future, right?
Right.
So I just want to, one side just kind of mentor and teach people how I'm making these bigger projects and also making these bigger projects. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. How about you?
As far as me, so I'm going to CU Denver next year, and I'm going to minor in filmmaking. And I mean, of course, the dream is to probably make it to Hollywood one day. I really want to go into like script writing and screenwriting.
Awesome.
But I mean, wherever it takes me.
That's great. That's awesome. Well, I'm so glad that you're here. You are exactly the type of people that we want here at the Wyoming International Film Festival. Local folks who have a passion for filmmaking, they have a passion for storytelling, they have awesome ambition and awesome talent, and that's exactly what we want to showcase. So if you want to come and see some of these amazing films that are being made, if you want to check out The Bystander and The Sun Rises Differently, come out to the Wyoming International Film Festival. We are here at LCCC broadcasting live from the red carpet. The 48-hour film festival is this Saturday, or this Sunday in the morning, for you to come check that out. And also, how about your other film? Has it premiered already, or is it premiering later?
The Bystanders?
Yes.
That would be, I guess, premiering at the 48-hour film.
Are both of them? How about The Sun Rises Differently?
Yes, that would be it to premiere here as well.
Oh, great. When's The Sun Rises Differently premiering?
Probably in about 30 minutes.
Oh, all right. So if you're watching this right now, get to LCCC immediately so you can check out that one. That's going to be awesome. Thank you for stopping by and talking with us a little bit, and congratulations on your amazing films.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. Thank you so much.
That was awesome.
Why don't you give me more? 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 All right, everybody, welcome back. We are broadcasting live from the Wyoming International Film Festival. So happy to be here. We are live on the red carpet right now, broadcasting from LCCC, and I am here with some, I believe, local filmmakers, which was really, really shocking to me. I'm going to get into that in just a bit, but why don't you two introduce yourself and tell us about the film that you've made?
Hi, I'm Ben Silver, and I was director of photography on the film Stroke that we screened this morning.
And Matt Pinataro. I was the director and editor and writer for Stroke.
Yeah, so I just had the opportunity to watch this film. It was during the mental health block, and this whole film was done for Cheyenne Regional Medical Center, right? For specifically, was it a stroke symposium? Is that correct?
Yes, it was for their stroke symposium last year, and I believe they showed it again this year. In fact, I know they showed it again this year.
Yep.
That's awesome. And so they just reached out to you and asked for something like this?
Yeah, the company that we work for, West Edge Collective, we've had a long running relationship with CRMC, and I've done quite a bit of work with them. They're always a great team to work with. Let us do some fun stuff.
That's fantastic. So you both work for West Edge Collective?
Yes.
Oh, very, very cool. That makes so much sense because no offense to any of the other filmmakers or anything like that, but when I watched the film, when I saw it, the first thing that really struck me was the video quality. The cinematography was absolutely outstanding, and it looked like the cameras that were being used were the highest quality. It was so incredible. I assumed, because here at the Wyoming International Film Festival, we're getting films from all over the place. We're getting films from everywhere, from India, Spain, UK, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago. I mean, they're coming in from all over the place. When I saw it, I was like, oh, this is clearly one of the Los Angeles film crews, you know? And when I saw that it was filmed in Cheyenne, my first thought was, oh, okay, so Cheyenne Regional Medical Center must have just like, you know, I don't know, reached out and contracted some professional company out of Los Angeles and paid, you know, astronomical amounts of money for this and all this stuff. So when I found out you two were local, that was really amazing. So tell me a little bit about that. What is both of your histories in filmmaking and background and all of that? What, you know, I'm sure what I saw was decades of hard work in the making.
Well, so I'm kind of living the dream. I retired from the Air Force in 2019 after 24 years.
Oh, thank you for your service.
Thanks for your support. I'd always been doing, you know, drones and video and editing as a hobby. It's just something I enjoyed. The intersection of technology and art for me were really intriguing and really fascinating. And then I got involved with drones early on when I deployed to Afghanistan. So that put the hook in me. I just was always amazed that you could launch these things, they fly around, do stuff, and then they come right back. And that blew my mind. So when I retired, I was already doing just kind of real estate videos and real estate photography, and just kept pushing the boundaries of those productions. And I wound up getting hired as a freelancer with West Edge to do sound on one of the other projects that we did for Cheyenne Regional Medical Center. And after that, that's kind of all she wrote. I've been freelancing exclusively with West Edge now for coming up on 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and yeah, so I don't have any formal training. It's all University of YouTube, and I love to learn how things work and master those things. And so I've really enjoyed learning the ins and outs of the cinema cameras and how those do all that stuff. So yeah, that's my background. Ben's is much more impressive though.
I don't know about that. I actually took kind of the first jump into my film career here at LCCC.
Really?
I took an editing class and learned Adobe CS5
Yes.
back in the day. And after that, kind of fell in love, ended up going through the film program at University of Denver, and then spending time out in LA. Did some cool stuff out there, worked with some awesome people. But it was really right at the bottom of the recession back in 2008.
Okay.
And all the production was moving away from LA.
Right.
And so with that, made my way back this way, and grew up in Cheyenne and got the opportunity to start working with West Edge about 4 years ago, and haven't looked back.
That's awesome. It's interesting. I don't know if you've had a chance to talk with Rudy, the creative director of the whole festival. He's got a very similar story to you. Did you know that?
I didn't. I actually just met Rudy this morning, and yeah, I'd love to talk to him more about that.
That's so interesting because he grew up here in Cheyenne, and he was driving through Casper and ended up seeing them filming the movie Starship Troopers, if you remember that,
Yep.
right? And that just blew his mind, this idea of filmmaking. So he started filmmaking, but he also went to Denver Film School and got his bachelor's there, went out to LA and has been in LA ever since, and wanted to come back to Wyoming where his roots were to do this festival. So
yeah, we definitely need to talk more then.
yeah, that's really, really cool. So again, this film Stroke, now, would you consider this film an appreciation film for the first responders who are helping with stroke victims, or would you consider it an advertisement? How would you classify the film that you made?
I think it's more of a kind of a tribute to the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes to bring successful stroke outcomes and make them happen very routinely, especially now. The original project that we were commissioned for CRMC was again for that stroke symposium. So what you saw today was there's been about a minute chopped off of things that were meaningful to those providers.
Gotcha.
But from a storytelling standpoint, for people who don't know what things like TPA is and what the timelines are and all those things, it didn't make as much sense. So this was a little bit more deliberate to be just a tribute to the first responders who, one, do it every day, and then two, were the talent in the film. We only had one actor, and that was the victim. But everybody else were the real deal, the real paramedics, the real pilots, the real nurses, the real doctors.
Right. And that was the coolest part because, again, so for those who are listening, the most amazing thing about this incredible production, it was what we saw was about 3 minutes and 3 minutes 20 seconds. Watching it was so cinematic. I mean, how cinematic it looked was breathtaking, and I can't emphasize that enough. You both did an incredible job with that. And then again, I see that it's CRMC. I see that it's a Flight for Life helicopter, which I had mentioned is I see leave from across the street from my house every single day, which was awesome. And then I'm seeing, these 911 calls and these doctors and everything. And my first thought was, I don't think any of these folks are actors. I think these are just the actual people. So walk me through that. I mean, did you just walk into, for instance, the 911 calls and say, "Hey, you guys want to do something fun?" How did that work out?
That was pretty much it. I was serious. That was really it. They were the last ones we brought on board, the Laramie County Communications Center. I introduced myself and what we were doing, and spoke with the director of the communications center. And she, like everyone else that was involved with this production could not have helped more. Like they were just so excited to tell their story, because they don't often, get that moment in the line. That's always the doctors or
Right.
some of the other providers. So especially 911 being the first link in that chain, I really wanted it to be authentic, to make sure that we were capturing more or less exactly what happens. There's some time compression, obviously, with a 3-minute film, but still, we wanted to be in the dispatch center and see the actual checklist they use and have an actual dispatcher, because at that point they're not acting as much, because it's just their job.
Right. That makes sense. And that's what I was curious about, because I'm an actor by trade, and I heavily criticize sometimes. There's times when people say, I'm not going to use any professional actors. I'm just going to use quote unquote real people, as if, actors are not real people. but the thing is oftentimes, and not to be snobbish, but it's clear that these people aren't trained actors, because most people are not comfortable with a camera being directly on their face, and most people are not comfortable with having to say scripted lines as if it's natural or something like that. Now, in your film, I didn't get that sense at all. It was really, it was much more like, wow, I can tell these are professionals who are used to doing that exactly how they do it. But how many takes did you have to do? Was that a challenge at all, to get people who are not used to being on camera and doing multiple takes to come in and reenact their real life?
I think we got pretty lucky, especially with the hospital staff, because this is something that they do every day, and it is such a high pressure environment that they're able to get into that mindset very quickly, because that's the job they're there to do. They
Right.
need to take care of this person. And so I think a lot of it was, we had the meeting at the beginning of our shoot days to kind of go over, what the plan would be. And really, we had to lean on them, because we're not the experts. We don't know what they go through in this process. And so we were learning a lot as we were filming.
Right.
And relying on them to essentially, tell them, here's the scenario that we're coming in with, and do what you would do every day in this situation.
Wow.
And a lot of times they were helping us write the dialogue. In fact, the bulk of the things that were said were, we kind of did a pre-interview with each of the 4 agencies, the emergency department, the ambulance crew, the Flight for Life crew, or the Lifeline crew, and the call center crew.
Right.
And just asked them what would they do. And then we kind of went back and tried to, cobble all that into a story and make sure that we hit key pieces of dialogue that were critical to it. And then, between Hope and Gretchen, who were our contacts at Cheyenne Regional Medical Center from the stroke program there, they were also the ones putting on that we want to show this. We want to make sure we show this. This is an important step. This is an important step. And so it kind of wrote itself, because, as Ben said, this is sadly, this is routine.
Right.
But it was as though they were just practicing for something that happens routine, and did happen during the course of our production. We were in the emergency departments from about 3:30 in the morning to 5:30, where our filming windows. So we would get only a couple of shots, but while we were there one day, a stroke emergency did come in.
No way. No. Well, and I was going to ask that, because you're filming in a real emergency room with real doctors and real nurses and real medical professionals. So were there times you had to literally stop production because they're like, hey, we got a real emergency that we have to deal with?
I think just twice.
Yeah. Luckily, we were able to run pretty light on our equipment package. So we were able to get out of the way and, just kind of stand back and let them do their actual jobs.
Right.
And, without the team being as good as they are here, that could have gone poorly. But luckily, everything went great production wise, and we were able to stay out of their way when they needed to, do the real work.
God. And let me ask you this. So again, for anybody listening right now, the film is called Stroke. It's incredible. And can people see this online? Where can they go watch it for those who missed it?
It's on YouTube if they go to the Cheyenne Regional Medical Center's website, or Cheyenne Regional Medical Center's YouTube channel.
Okay.
You'll be able to see it there.
Yeah, so go to Cheyenne Regional Medical Center's YouTube channel and look for Stroke. You will be able to see everything we're talking about. It's incredible. It's so well done. It's so well shot. Everybody that was in the audience during the screening was so amazed at how great you made Cheyenne look, especially with those drone shots. It was really, really cool. Two more quick questions for you. The first practical, the second more esoteric, if you will. The first is, how long did post-production take on this thing?
This was May of last year that I edited it, and I'm getting old. So I want to say it was probably about 4 weeks, 3 weeks.
Okay.
And it, for a couple of reasons. One, I edited it in Final Cut.
Right.
Which is that's how I started, and I'm really fast at Final Cut, but I was most comfortable in it, and keeping it organized in there was fine, and that helped speed up some of it. It was also heavily storyboarded, so I have in front of me the storyboard that we did.
Oh wow!
So there wasn't like what you'll sometimes find yourself in as an editor, where you're building the story during the edit.
Yes,
it wasn't like that. It was more of just picking the right takes and putting those in, and just getting the flow moving. All that. I spent quite a bit of time on sound design too with that, and that was a lot. And then we had a couple of. I'm not trying to think. I don't think we had any reshoots, and there wasn't any do-overs. But
yeah, we didn't have any of that. But I think the color grade and really getting that look that we were going for, and the sound design were the biggest.
Yeah, the sound was incredible, and that leads me. I said two questions. I actually have a third now that you mentioned that.
That's fine.
Is the in the beginning it starts with a 911 call. That's how the whole film starts. Beautifully edited, by the way. I have to tell you, the way that was, the way the intro was crafted was beautiful. But was the 911 call real, or was that scripted? How did that work?
So Matt had originally said we had one non-professional, one actor in the whole
I guess
thing.
That's true.
We technically had two.
Okay.
We hired an actress to do the call for 911 from the wife side.
Got it.
And
okay.
Actually had them, call in to.
No, we didn't. We just recorded.
You're
it.
Right. Yeah, we did.
The telephone sound is all posted.
Gotcha.
And we recorded that in the conference room at the call center, so that we had both sides there to be able to communicate with one another when recording it.
Yeah. So when we were filming The Dispatcher, the actor who played the wife, she was sitting off camera reading her lines.
Oh, that's great. That makes so much sense.
So
and
they were able to do that natural interaction.
Right. It came off fantastic. So then here's the last question, a little more esoteric. You mentioned earlier that you're so fascinated with the combination of technology and art. And this has been something that's been buzzing around the festival. I've been hearing lots of conversations about it and everything. We're in the midst of what some are calling one of the biggest technological revolutions in human history with AI. And I'm wondering, as filmmakers, are you excited about that? Are you nervous about that? How does all of these revolutions in technology and video and film and everything right now, how do you feel about it, and do you see it moving forward?
Well, I think first of all, the great thing about being a filmmaker right now is you can't buy a bad camera if you tried.
Right.
They're all fantastic. And we filmed Stroke with Sony FX6, and I don't think I had the FX3. I think it was A7S3 at that point. But we're using Sony, Sony prosumer and the low end of the cinema cameras for that. So that's a cool thing about it. Same with lights. every company, it seems like every week is coming out with their own line of lighting.
Right.
So being able to, do that, all those aspects of it is really kind of cool. On the AI side, I am excited about it because one thing that Ben and I find ourselves doing quite a bit at the agency is storyboarding.
Yeah.
I can't draw a stick figure to save my life. So we've started using AI to create images
Yeah.
for storyboards, and then we're using those as inspiration for our shots. We did it for 3 productions we did in the last month, and it's been really successful so far. In fact, the challenge has been communicating to the clients that that's not exactly how it's, and that's not the person that's going to be in the shot, because that's not a real person.
Right.
And on the, for like, I think for getting past that writer's block,
Yeah.
I think AI, being able to use AI tools like ChatGPT to help get you off the X.
Yeah.
It's like any other technological change. I think it's something to be embraced. It's not going to go away. So,
Right.
how do we work it into our workflows, and how do we maximize it?
Yeah, I think it's another tool for us to figure out how to use the right way for us. I do think it's going to shake up certain parts of the industry. But I think that you're never going to see, the role of the editor completely disappear, or
Right.
the cinematographer. Someone still has to light the shot and film the shot.
Right.
And you need actors for that
Right.
in order to get the traditional images captured of live action stuff.
Right. And it's interesting because it is, I mean, obviously it's a big topic of the writer's strike and editors and all this stuff. And, but the divide seems to be amongst people is that there are those who are like, no, I love it because now the amount of time that it takes has been taken down drastically. Right. I mean, the amount of time, you said, you're looking at 3 to 4 weeks to edit a 3-minute or 4-minute film, which is, I mean, even that's quite fast. I mean, in the grand scheme of it. So there's that. Then there are others who are genuinely worried about, well, does this make anything obsolete or anything like that, and so it's really cool to hear from you two who are doing very, very, very cool things, that you're embracing it and taking it on and everything. So before I let you go, thank you for taking the time for the interview. Is there anything you'd like to plug, or anything that you would like to tell our listeners before I let you go?
We have another film tomorrow at 9:50 in the 9:50 to noon block.
Oh, great.
Called the Parade Volunteers, and it's about the hundreds of people who put on the Frontier Days parades. Cheyenne Frontier Day is the biggest, world's largest outdoor rodeo, happens every July.
Yep.
In Cheyenne, and there are 4 parades, and there's the public sees the carriages and the horses and the military and the marching bands and stuff, but there is so much that goes on behind the scenes. And so we're very fortunate. We had an angel investor
Amazing.
come out of the sky and fund a bunch of Cheyenne Frontier Day stories, but the one that we'll be showing is this one about the Parade Volunteers.
That's so cool. I'm sensing a theme in your work. It seems like you two are very passionate about showcasing the behind the scenes of a lot of things, like stroke being the behind the scenes of what happens, obviously, when somebody calls in for a stroke and everybody, and now the behind the scenes of the parade. Is that intentionally a theme, or is that just how it happened to fall?
A little bit of both. I think that one, that's how it happened to fall with the clients and investors we were working with during this time. But it's also really interesting and cool to see the hard work that goes into these things that the average person doesn't get to see. And telling those stories, from the perspective of the people who are putting in the hard work is really rewarding.
That's amazing. And I'm actually really glad you're doing that, because I've been putting on some shows myself in town, and I can tell you it is an unbelievable amount of work behind the scenes. And the parade is a staple of Frontier Days. I mean, I go every year. I take my kids every year. There's thousands of people every single year, and it's great that's one of my favorite parts about film is who gets to have the light shined on them. And so the volunteers that make that happen, I'm glad you did that.
We'll have one in next year's festival about the maybe half a dozen guys who maintain these 150-year-old carriages that you see. There's about 60 carriages in the parade, and none of them are replicas. They are the real deal, and keeping those things maintained is a struggle and a challenge that they have to deal with. So that was one that we wrapped and delivered well after the entry deadline for this film festival passed. So we'll get that in next year.
Oh, great. Well, listen, I'm super glad we're going to have you next year. As far as this year, for anybody listening, come to the Wyoming International Film Festival. It's happening at the Spa Theater at Laramie County Community College. There's a massive theater. It's beautiful. We're showcasing amazing films. We're broadcasting live from the red carpet, and there's going to be another fantastic show. You said that was what time again?
9:50. It's in the 9:50 block. So
okay,
9:50 to
11:20 or so. And the name of the film one more time was Parade Volunteers. Come check that out. If you don't have time, make sure to go to Cheyenne Regional Medical Center's YouTube channel. Watch the incredible piece Stroke. You won't regret it. It's fantastic. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Awesome. Why don't you give me more? 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 What is up, everybody? This is Dominic Syracuse of the YO Original Podcast, broadcasting live from the red carpet of the Wyoming International Film Festival. This is happening at the Spa Theater at Laramie County Community College. We have over 148 films from dozens and dozens of countries, and I am blessed to be here with a filmmaker right now from one of those countries. Everybody, please help me welcome Carlos Alestrev. He is here from Spain. Is that correct?
That's right, correct.
You came all the way from Spain to Wyoming.
Yeah, I was never in Wyoming, so I made friends with Rudy, the director of this festival in Kosovo, in another festival. He loved my film and he prompted me to submit to the festival. So I was really happy to be to have my film in the schedule here. So I decided to come, and it is great. It is been great here.
That's amazing. That is so cool. You know, that was kind of the goal of the festival when Rudy conceived it. He came to me and he said, you know, I really want to showcase film because Rudy and I share a massive love for film. And he said, I want to showcase films from all over the world and bring them to our home state of Wyoming. And it's funny because, you know, now when people come, because Rudy and I grew up here, maybe we can't quite see the you know, beauty in it because to us it's just home. I'm sure it's very similar. If I were to go to Spain, I'd be blown away by some of the stuff that you might think is, you know, rather mundane. But how long was the flight in from Spain to Wyoming?
And I took two flights, but the second one was delayed. Air Canada lost my luggage.
Oh no!
Yeah, I lost another connection, so it was like 30 hours to reach here.
Oh my gosh!
At the beginning, I was so tired, but now with the energy of the festival and this positivity, I feel really great.
Oh, that's awesome. That makes us super, super happy. So now your film, Raya, tell us a little bit about the film that you've made.
It's a fantasy film, in a short film, fiction. Is more of the realism and fantasy. It's set in a near future in Europe. All the European governments have collapsed by some crisis that we don't get information
Okay.
about. But the people is living in tribes. They are organized in tribes, so they try to survive. Some of these tribes are very aggressive. Some are just try to survive.
Yes.
And we have these two teenage girls that they are in the test of coming of age, so they have to survive alone in a forest in the woods till they get something that is valuable for their tribe.
Wow.
So we follow them during these days that they are trying to get something.
This sounds absolutely incredible. Now, where did you come up with the concept? Was this just something that you imagined and wanted to make, or was this something that you've had been dreaming about for a long time?
I wrote this story with my brother, that he's a writer. He lives in Tokyo.
Oh, wow.
And he's inspired usually by Asian cinema. So this is a kind of mixture of European and Asian
Very
ideas.
cool.
And I usually in my films, I try to answer a question that is, what is our real identity as a human beings?
Oh,
Because
wow.
what I am, deprived, if I was deprived of my country, my name, my religion, my family. So this is the situation these girls have in the film, that they are deprived of everything. And I think in the big crisis is when you can show the best of you or the worst part of you.
Oh, wow. Wow. I love that. I love how you say that. That is so true. You know, I know that we're living in a world that, depending how you look at it, can be the greatest time to be alive or one of the most volatile times. And it's really cool to have film be a metaphor for the human spirit in that way. I think that's the goal of film in general. And I have to tell you, you know, you're kind of living this awesome film dream. You know, you're living everything about film that I love. One, you're expressing amazing ideas and very deep concepts in a beautiful way, and it's taking you all over the world. As you were saying, I understand that Rudy, the director of the Wyoming Film Festival, invited you because you two both met at a film festival in Kosovo. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, it was in May, in the first week of May, and Rudy was in the jury, and I was a filmmaker attending the festival, and we immediately made friends there. There was like a symphony, you know.
Yes, yes.
And it was really great that time with other filmmakers from other countries, and we created like a community there in some sense.
Awesome.
And yeah, and he loved several films that we had there, and so he invited us to come. There is another filmmaker from Spain that I think you are going to interview later.
Yes.
And we're so glad to be here. It's really great to be here. And you know, I know a little bit of the United States because I was visiting in several occasions New York, Los Angeles, and Las Vegas.
Yes.
But I never experienced this kind of life like you have in Wyoming, and I find it really great. I love the energy of this place.
That's great. The Wild West. In
Yeah.
fact, you were on the tour yesterday. Was
Yeah.
it yesterday morning?
Yeah.
Where we took all of the filmmakers who were visiting from either out of state or out of country, and we took them to the Terry Bison Ranch and had everybody feed bison on a train. How'd you like that experience? What'd you
Yes.
think of that?
I got my picture feeding the bison, and I was never so close to a bison, and I also saw these baby bisons. And,
Yes.
it was just so cute, and the animals were really great. I love these animals. Really, they are great.
Yeah, it's funny because that's another one of those things for any YO locals out here. That's something that, I imagine, like, if you live in Hollywood, you don't go to the Hollywood sign all the time, or if you live in New York, you don't go to the Statue of Liberty all the time. Here in Wyoming, we don't really go feed the bison all of the time, but it was really cool to see that experience from everybody else's point of view. It was a very cool, and they had just had their babies and everything. That was really fun. Well, on that topic of traveling around, where all has this film taken you?
This film was screened in, I think, in several countries in Europe. In it was in Spain, of course, in UK, in Greece, in Italy, and a couple of countries more. So
Wow.
maybe, so like 7 or so countries.
That's amazing. And have you gone to every single one?
No,
No.
I cannot afford it, but I try to be a little bit picky about the festivals I am attending. But I really would like to. I wanted to use the opportunity to come here.
That's amazing. So you passed up places like Italy and Greece because you said, you know what, I've got to come to Wyoming.
Yes, I when Rudy told me, I on the very spot I decided to come.
That's unbelievable. Well, we're so happy to have you here. Now, tell me about your journey as a filmmaker. How long have you been making films?
This is my 20th year.
Wow.
I started in 2003, and the first films I made, I don't like them now. It was like a process. I understand that it's a process, but the first fiction films I don't like. Maybe the documentaries are acceptable, but from 10 years ago, it's like I found my own path, my
Yeah.
own language. So it's like you reach a point that you more or less master the technique,
Right.
and then, or maybe don't master, but you control the technique.
Yeah, right.
let's say. And so you are free to develop your own language, your own universe in filmmaking.
Absolutely. Yeah. So before that, so before 2003, had you always dreamed of being a filmmaker? Were you in a completely different spot? What brought you to the filmmaking process?
This is like a discontinuous process because when I was 13, I was in another city, and there was this group of filmmakers, crazy filmmakers, that organized like a workshop for children about filmmaking. So they invited maybe all the children or many children of the city,
Yes.
but only like 20 roll up for this workshop. I was one of them. So we were like 2 months learning and so. And because at that time there was not general use of the internet, I lost contact with these guys. But somehow the seed of filmmaking remained inside of me.
Right.
And later on, I was in a travel to Bosnia, like 10 years after the civil war in Bosnia. And I was talking to a girl there that she was 25. And she told me that she was Bosnian, Muslim Bosnian,
Okay.
a
Yeah.
minority, and she was living in a village. And one afternoon, there were these paramilitaries,
Okay.
Serbians, that went into the village, and they set all the houses on fire.
Oh my goodness.
They killed all the adults, and they gave the children and the elder people 1 hour to leave the village.
Wow.
So she witnessed how they killed their parents, the teacher in the school, everybody she knew, and she had to take care of her two small brothers.
Mm.
She went into the woods with some other people. It was in the middle of the winter, and they remained like 8 days there. Some people died, and later on they arrived to another village and they received some help from the people. I connected this story that this girl told me with another story I witnessed in a coffee shop in Spain, that there was this black man that came into the coffee shop to offer something to sell, because he was earning his life
Right. Right.
with this. And there was this drunken man that was like treating him so badly.
Sure. Sure.
But I didn't say a word. I felt very bad, but I didn't say a word on the spot. But later on, when I learned about this story of the Bosnian girl, I connected both stories, and I realized that Bosnians, Spaniards, in every country, we are all the same. We are human beings.
Absolutely.
So this seed of hate is very dangerous.
Yes.
and could take root among us at any time. So I think that I felt the need to tell this story to other people, to connect this, to make this reflection that this racism among us is the seed for these terrible wars that we are experiencing all in other
Absolutely.
countries.
Yes.
So I started to write a script about it, and 2 years later, I managed to make it a short film, my first short film.
Wow. 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 See, this is so wonderful to hear, you know, especially for so many reasons, you know, uh, for those watching who might be interested in making film and everything, especially in the United States, oftentimes film is something that is highly glamorized. And especially with social media and things like this, it can be, it can all just kind of be about, you know, something like fame or something like popularity, glamour, right? But what I love is the art form itself is about exactly what you're talking about. It's an opportunity for us to really examine these parts of the human condition, and hearing that your roots came from these very real places, you know, from the Bosnian War and experiencing racism and things like that, and saying, this is what I want to use this extremely powerful platform to do. And that's what it sounds like your mission is.
Yeah. And you know, I got inspiration from an American writer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Bukowski.
Bukovs, of course.
Especially because he said, I am translating
Sure,
from
sure.
Spanish, translated from English. So
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
don't know if something is going to reach you. Anyhow, he said that when you are making your today's artwork,
Yeah.
be writing or filmmaking or whatever, if you are thinking of your last success, then you are lost.
Yes.
If you are thinking of your last failure, you are also lost. Because what is needed when you are doing film, for instance, is sincerity, that it comes from your inside and goes to the outside. If you are pretending to capture the viewer with some trick, then your film is born dead.
Oh, I love how you said that. I love how you said that the film is born dead. Cause so, you know, I talk so often about how so many people, um, so many people are scared to even start because they're afraid, well, what'll happen if it goes wrong, or what'll happen if and so much of success is just getting started and just doing it, you know. And oftentimes people's first efforts are very, very good. They might be amateurish, but they've got a lot of heart and a lot of spirit. And as people grow, they tend to fall into that trap of being stuck in the past or stuck in the future. And I love how you put that it's born dead if that's where you're starting. So it's not going to go anywhere because it didn't have any of that soul from the moment to begin with.
Yeah. I think if you have a sincerity and you are like loyal to yourself,
Yes.
then you will make a film that will change your heart. And if it changes your heart, then it will change other people's heart as well. Maybe not all the people's heart, but
Right.
maybe some of them
Yes.
will be
Yes.
touched by your film, because it will come out of your heart.
I love that. It sounds like you make films from the heart. It sounds like you make films that are meaningful to you. So we're so happy to have you at this festival. Now, I understand that right now, if people missed your film, Raya, they're not able to see it because it's already premiered here, and you're going around to festival circuits and everything like that. But where can they see some of your other work, and where can they see Raya as soon as it's released on a grand scale?
Okay, I have some films in some platforms, and you can look for the trailer of Ria is open in,
Okay,
in
great.
YouTube, I think. But if there is someone that is really, really dying to look for to watch Ria,
Yes.
you can Instagram me and I will send you a private link and you can watch it.
Fantastic. And just so we have it for all of our viewers, what is the Instagram? Where can they find you?
It's just my name without spaces.
Okay.
Carlos Alastrey with K and all the.
Excellent. You see at the bottom of the banner here, you see the name. Just take out the space, check him out on Instagram, hit him up, and see if you can see this and any of his very amazing, powerful work. We are so happy and honored to have you here, not only in America, not only in Wyoming, but at this festival. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Can we have a picture?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Why don't you give me more? 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 What is up, everybody? This is Dominic Syracuse with the YO Original Podcast, and we are broadcasting live from the red carpet at the Wyoming International Film Festival. We have over 148 films from dozens and dozens of countries. We've been interviewing people from Spain. We've been interviewing people from New York, Chicago. We're going to keep the interviews rolling. The festival has been going on since Wednesday, and it's going all the way through Sunday. Amazing films, amazing events. And I'm super happy because I am sitting here with one of the filmmakers, Mr. Matthew Taggart with The Counterfeit Kid. And I understand you're actually a Wyoming local. Is that correct?
Well, I live in Fort Collins now, but yeah, I grew up in Cody, Wyoming. That's where my family's from. We have long history in the Bighorn Basin, came up as pioneers. So yeah, Wyoming is home.
That's awesome. That's for, all of the Yellowstone fans out there. That's that,
Yeah.
right? That's the area up there. That's really, really cool. And so now you're here with your film, The Counterfeit Kid, which is a feature-length film
Yeah.
that you made. Tell us a little bit about the film.
Yeah, so we had kind of been preparing this other movie, and some of the funding and what have you fell through. But we had been geared up to do a movie, and I had another script, The Counterfeit Kid, and we decided, you know what, we're already kind of in this mode to make a movie, so let's just do this one instead. And it's been an amazing experience.
That's incredible. Now, are you the writer, director, all of the above?
Yeah, so I wrote it and directed it. I also produced it, but that's just kind of a default thing. It's
Right.
It's not my main focus, but yeah, I had a great cast, a great crew, and but yeah, writing and directing was kind of my primary.
That's so cool. So tell us about the story. What was the inspiration for the story and all of that?
Yeah, so I love Westerns, probably my favorite genre, and I wanted to do one that was I like Westerns more from the 60s, 40s. I like kind of more classic Westerns, I guess you could say. And so I wanted to do one that had that fun and that kind of vibe to it. And so Counterfeit Kid it's a Western in the sense that it takes place in 1880s Wyoming, but it's actually, it's a lot like Princess Bride, where it's just kind of this fun romance comedy adventure film.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny. And now forgive me, because I am not nearly as well versed in Westerns as you probably are. But when I think of the golden age of Westerns, we're talking like John Wayne,
Yep.
right? That
Yep.
kind of thing. I don't know that I can say John Wayne comes to mind when I think of like romance, comedy, adventure.
Well, you should see Rio Lobo then.
Rio Lobo?
Or
Okay,
El Dorado or
okay.
Rio Bravo. He's pretty
See,
good.
that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, maybe I'm mistaken.
No, it's a good point, and that's, I guess that's the other thing. I like all Westerns. I like from any decade really, but I'm not a gritty. I love gritty movies just fine, but I am a little bit more. Again, I like Back to the Future. I like
yes,
Ghostbusters. Those are kind of more my jam. And so I wanted a Western that kind of reflected more of that sensibility than, Unforgiven or something
Sure,
like that.
sure.
It's a little more gritty.
Yeah, because we've seen this kind of resurgence of Westerns recently. I mean, I guess it's been happening for the past 10 years, from Django Unchained to some of the others, and they have been a heavy focus on grit and violence and all of that stuff, which one comes to expect, I suppose, with the Wild West. But there has been shockingly less films that are the more heartfelt cinematic experiences.
Yeah. I mean, again, some of my first intro to a Western was probably Back to the Future Part 3.
Yes.
It's a Western, but it's not real. I mean, it kind
of is. They're wearing cowboy hats.
Yeah, exactly. Or Maverick, things like that. And so that's just Three Amigos. Those are the types of Westerns that really appeal to me. And that's what I wanted to put out there and kind of contribute back.
That's awesome. So tell us a bit about the story without giving anything away for the viewers.
Yeah. So it's about a guy named Jack. He's just a simple farmhand, and he wants to be famous. He wants to be something bigger than he is. And he finds a hat that makes people think he's a notorious gunslinger. And he lets people believe that, lets them buy him drinks. He uses that fame. And then the gunslinger finds out that there's this guy impersonating him. Meanwhile, they get on the trail of a buried treasure. So all of these things kind of just combine, and
that's fun. So fun. That is such a that's a story that I'm envious I didn't know about. I would have loved to be in a story like that. That sounds super fun. And tell me about the filming. Did you film it in Wyoming?
Yeah, we actually did. We filmed it. Probably about 80% of it we filmed in Wyoming. We needed a saloon for a scene.
Okay.
And we found a location in Utah actually that worked pretty well. So there are a couple scenes that we filmed in Utah, but most of it is right up the North Fork on the way to Yellowstone, heading outside of Cody.
Oh wow! So you did it all in that area up there.
Yep.
Really cool. And I mean, when you did it, was most of the shots on the Great Plains? Did you get a chance to go into the mountains in the area at all?
We got a good combination of both. We were in the mountains for a good chunk of it. There's a sequence that takes place in a cave. So we were definitely there's a mountain in Cody called Cedar Mountain. So we filmed up there. But then we also got some kind of river bottoms. There's no real plains, I suppose, but we have a big waterfall. We have an old log tie flume where they used to chop down lumber and send it down these water slides. So, I mean, we got a lot of great locations that we utilize. That's
really cool. And see, this is something about Wyoming that I think a lot of people are finding appealing. And I also know that we're really big on preservation around here, for better or worse, right? Because the thing that makes that kind of difficult is that when we want to put on something like the Wyoming International Film Festival, there's a lot of hoops to jump through because, the Wyoming can be very leery of, anything that's brand new, because it's like, all right, because of exactly what we're talking about is that they're so into conservation and preservation. But that must be a dream come true as a filmmaker, because if you're making a film set in the late 1800s, there are parts of Wyoming that are pretty much the exact same as they were in the 1800s, right?
I mean, you and I were talking before we started, when my family and I lived in LA, I couldn't find a cowboy hat to say. I mean, I know that they're there, obviously, but I can't afford to go to the big studios.
Exactly. Right.
In Wyoming, you make a couple phone calls and you've got authentic period costumes. You've got
from someone's grandpa.
Right.
They're like, oh yeah, my grandpa. It smells like his tobacco smoke. Take this. Totally. And that's but also, I mean, like you said, I mean, if you're filming on these basins or these caves or these mountains, I mean, these are the caves that, very famous gunslingers used to hide in.
Yeah.
And they haven't really they're not fenced off and made an attraction. I mean, if you want to venture into those caves and brave the rattlesnakes, then have at it.
That's true.
So that's really cool. Now you mentioned so you were grew up in Cody, and then after the film wrap, you took a job in Los Angeles. Is that right?
Yeah. I had gone back to school in my 30s to finally get a degree.
Sure.
And, kind of when I finished that, we made the movie. And so I was kind of between jobs as we were filming, and the DP lives in out in Los Angeles. And he said, "Hey, I've got this friend who's looking for a video guy, a movie guy." And I took the job out there. And so I still work for them, actually. I just live in Colorado now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Work remotely, but it was kind of a nice little change of pace, go out to California. But my heart is here, like the
Right.
second I got a chance to move back kind of to the Rocky Mountains, I jumped at that.
Yeah,
chance.
yeah. Well, it's funny because we were talking beforehand, and I lived in Los Angeles for about 8 years. And I wonder if you had the same feeling I did, which was when I moved, because, a Wyoming kid, I'm like, I'm going to move to Hollywood. That sounds like where I need to go, right?
Yeah.
And it was so overwhelming. I remember the first 3 months that I moved to Hollywood, I couldn't go outside and walk more than a block because it was just so overwhelming. I mean, there's so much.
Yeah, it's
everything.
Well, and back to your point about Wyoming in general, like, yes, there may be an aversion to new things, but at the same time, I felt like California, there's so much saturation with art and creativity and film that almost you can get lost in the wash.
Big time.
I feel like people in Wyoming, if you have a Shakespeare in the Park event, if you have a film festival, people turn out in droves because it's something to do. And so that's another thing I loved about being from Wyoming is I feel like there was a really deep appreciation for the arts.
That's the thing is I talk about this quite often, but the reason that I moved away from Wyoming initially about, in 2010 was that I felt like as a creative person, there wasn't much to be done in the way of creativity as far as like if I wanted to make a living out of it. I had to go venture to Los Angeles because that's where you make a living out of arts. So I moved there, cut my teeth, learned so much about everything. And the pandemic is what brought me back. But then I realized that I was like, oh, the reason that there isn't much going on in the way of art is just that there's nobody kind of just creating that outlet, because what we are not short on is creative people.
100%.
In fact, when I moved to LA, I was blown away because I know people who were, and no offense, because I know unbelievably talented people in Los Angeles, incredibly talented people, but there are people here in Wyoming that are the best musicians or the best filmmakers or the best artists on earth. And the reason is because it snows 9 months out of the year.
You got nothing else to do.
So what you do is, my joke is you get a hobby or a drug problem.
Yeah.
That's pretty much your options. And so, I know when I moved to LA, people were like, gosh, you're so multi-talented. You play the guitar and you do stand-up and you act and you do this and you do that. And I'm like, no, I'm from Wyoming, it's not like here where every time you turn the corner, there's a trillion things to occupy your time. It was like, we spent our time in basements being imaginative,
Again, being from Cody, specifically, you got Buffalo Bill, who, if he was alive today, he would be an influencer on social media. Like, he was so far ahead of his time. But I feel like that spirit of just kind of that, like, entertainment and I don't know. It's a great place to be from. I am probably super annoying to most of my friends for how much I talk about Wyoming.
Well, yeah, but let me ask you, did that play a part? Where did your roots in film begin?
So my family, we went to the movies every Friday night growing up, and it didn't matter what the genre. My parents didn't take us to see.
Yeah, you couldn't see Midnight Cowboy.
Right.
Yeah.
But we would go see a drama or an action movie or whatever was playing if it was appropriate, and then we would just talk about it in the car.
Yeah.
And so movies were always a part of growing up. And then in high school, as cliche as it may sound, I worked at the video store.
Nice. No, that's great.
Yeah, and that's really what kind of turned me on to other genres that I had not seen. And from there, my best friend, one of my best friends in high school, and we wrote a movie when we worked at the video store, and just kind of decided I'm gonna try to make this work in whatever way I can.
Yeah. And now here you are doing it nationwide and all this stuff. So let me ask you, is this the official premiere of The Counterfeit Kid here at the Wyoming International Film Festival?
No, we actually had a screening 2 weeks ago in LA at a film festival down there.
Was it Dances with Films?
No, it wasn't Dances
Okay.
with Films, but it sounds like that's a pretty.
That's the one at the Chinese theater. And I
Yeah.
heard, yeah.
No, I funny enough, I can't remember. I was just listening to a podcast the other day talking about that film festival, but no, it was one called the Marina Del Rey.
Yeah, the
And-
Marina. It's West
yeah.
Side. Yeah.
So and that was a great experience. A lot of our casts are out in California, so they were able to see the movie for the first time.
Very
So
cool.
that was good.
So now you said a lot of the cast for The Counterfeit Kid was out of California. Did you cast out of California?
No, so we actually cast. We were living in Utah at the time.
Oh, okay.
All through pre-production and production, really. So I had lived in Salt Lake for a number of years
Okay.
earlier, and so I kind of knew. I knew some people, but we did a casting call there, and holy cow! I mean, we had so many people turn out that were just amazing actors.
Yep. That's great to hear.
Yeah, and it was hard because you actually had people where it's like, look, you don't fit any of these roles.
Right.
Man, I wish I had another movie that you did because they were so good. And funny enough, we did have a couple people that we were able to go back to later and just say, hey, we had an actor drop out.
Yeah, we'd like to have you.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's so encouraging for anyone out there who is interested in the filmmaking process or interested in being an actor specifically. What you just said is something that I remember they trained us, you know, because I went to school for acting.
Uh-huh.
And this was something they told us is they said, when you audition, don't if you don't get the part, don't take it as you're no good
Right.
or anything like that, because the saying that I was told was, you're not auditioning for the role they're casting, you're auditioning for 3 movies from now.
No, it's true.
Right? Because
100%.
your job is to actually show up and blow them away. And then they say exactly what you said. Well, you're amazing. You don't fit anything in this, but now I have you in mind. So in some cases, it's like I have you in mind so that when I write a new script, I'm just going to write you into
Yeah.
it. Right. Or I can't wait till a script comes across my desk that you fit in. And it's just a matter of doing that enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Or even I've had some friends who've been casting other projects and I've kind of given them my short list of, hey, I know you're looking for this character. Check this actor out. So
this guy's awesome. That's so wonderful to hear that you're doing it in Utah and getting so many people there. Because I know Utah's got a thriving theater scene. So I'm sure that's where a lot of the actors came in and did that. So did you round them all up and have them make the drive or fly out to Wyoming?
Drove up to Wyoming. Only had one person. One of our actors plays a character named Chaco, and the night that he was driving into town, he hit a deer.
Oh,
and
so he got
exploded his car.
He got the real Wyoming
He got the real
experience.
Wyoming
That's
experience.
it's only a Wyoming experience if you hit a deer while you're doing this, right?
Yep.
That's amazing. So, but was he still able to be in the film?
He
Or?
was still in the film. He showed up on set the next day completely fine.
The call didn't go, hey, you hit a deer? Okay, sorry to hear it. Click. Hey, get me one of those other fantastic actors that
No, and
auditioned.
It was, because again, it happened at 11 o'clock at night, and you're just like, oh man, are we gonna have,
Oh yeah.
something happen? But he was total pro and just great.
That's
Great actor.
amazing. Okay, so we're just about out of time. This has been such a pleasure.
Oh, thank you.
Let me ask you this: where, if people want to see previous work you've done, or if they want to catch The Counterfeit Kid, when can they catch it? Where can they catch it?
Yeah, so you can go to falcon85films.com. That's our website, and we'll have listed when the movie's going to be screening at other film festivals, and hopefully where you'll be able to get it when the festival run is done and it's available for home viewing.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you so much for coming in. We are broadcasting live from the Wyoming International Film Festival at the Spa Theater at Laramie County Community College. We've got hundreds and hundreds of films from filmmakers all over the place. If you are sitting around watching this online right now and want something to do, come out and check out these amazing films. Matthew, again, thank you so much. I can't wait to check it out.
Awesome.
All right. That was great, man. Thank you so much.
That was great.
Oh, and Mark's grabbing pictures if you want some pictures on your phone.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Act like we're podcasting.
You can pop an ear out though, because
loud music.
Yeah, the music's gonna like pop out. This is our. It's funny. We have like a guy actually produced this song for us for the podcast. Yeah, and I edit the podcast begrudgingly. I don't. I'm one of those like. I'm one of those like build the plane while flying it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You know what I mean, kind of guys. And so I'm learning editing on the fly as I'm doing all of this. So I am so sick. Testing, 1, 2, still on. Okay, good. For everybody still listening, live from the Wyoming International Film Festival. We got more interviews coming up. Stick around. Why don't you give me more? 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 Why don't you give me Why don't you give me more? 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 What is up, everybody? This is Dominic Syracuse from the Y Original Podcast. We are broadcasting live from the Wyoming International Film Festival happening at LCCC, and we are at the Spa Theater broadcasting from the red carpet. I am here with Pedro Poveda, the director of Into the Vortex. Now, the cool part about this festival is we are broadcasting live from the red carpet here, but we have filmmakers from all over the place. We have filmmakers from Europe. We have filmmakers from South America. We have filmmakers from all over the United States. And you have traveled very, very far. Tell everybody where you're from.
Thanks for having me. I am from Spain. Yeah,
That's awesome. You came all the way from Spain to
and
be here.
First time in the States. So
Really?
happy. Yeah.
So it's your very first time in the United States, and of all places, you came to Wyoming.
Yeah.
How are you liking it so far?
It's been amazing, and we are feeling like home here because we are surrounded by filmmakers. We are being treated really good. So yeah, I'm really enjoying the experience here.
Oh, that's fantastic. That makes us so happy to hear. You know, we, for fun, we brought all of our filmmakers out to the Terry Bison Ranch where they got to feed buffalo. Did you get a chance to do that? Were you there? What'd you think of that?
Yeah, we were there and it was amazing. It was like getting really deep into the country, and these creatures are really amazing. Traveling in time, no?
It was really cool. It was the first time that I saw with the babies. They had just had the babies and everything. It was wild, but we're really happy to have you here. Now let me ask you about your film, Into the Vortex. It's been getting rave reviews, by the way. There have been people talking about this film, just how visionary it is and how cool it is. That's been the biggest, when you're around a whole bunch of filmmakers, it can be difficult to get, everybody's can be critical, or everybody can, be like comparing their films to another. And all anybody said is, have you seen Into the Vortex? It's cool. It's really cool.
So nice to hear.
Yeah, that's the really cool thing. Tell our viewers a little bit about the film.
Well, Reach the Vortex is an Spanish short film. We made it in, I am the director and producer, but it's like a collective creation.
Mhm.
We made it in a festival. We consists in making a short film in 45 hours in a weekend.
Wow.
So they give you randomly like a genre, a location,
Yeah.
an object.
So you're telling me that this film that people are raving about was made in 48 hours?
Yeah.
No way.
written, shot, shoot, and edit in just one a weekend. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we actually have a 48-hour film festival as part of the Wyoming International Film Festival. That's going to be Sunday, where we've asked filmmakers to make a film in 48 hours. But the fact that normally it's an exercise for filmmakers.
Exactly, and for us, it's that way also because we have a production company in Murcia, in Spain, and we are doing mainly advertising, and we are producing feature films. And this is a good way of not rusting ourselves, just doing this kind of projects and doing something more creative.
Right.
Yeah, and at the end, you are putting yourself in a difficult situation. So we usually assemble a team, like 10 people, and we create collectively this way,
Yes.
right during the night with the topics we have to play with, and then shoot it on Saturday and deliver the short film on Sunday. So,
Wow. Well, and what amazes me about it is even though, it's meant to be an exercise, the 48-hour film festival, you did this, and now it is going through the festival circuit. How many places has this film played now?
in the moment we delivered the short film and in this festival, it worked really well. The audience were reacted like crazy. We didn't expect that. We at the end, you do the surfing and you put all your passion in it, but you don't know.
Right.
So when it worked and we won the first award there, we decided to distribute it at the end around the world, and it's going like crazy for us. We are getting close to 100 selections.
Wow.
Yeah. And we have been in Italy, we have been selected in Portugal, a lot of places in Spain, Germany,
Wow.
Kosovo.
Wow.
Here also, yeah.
And now Wyoming.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you meet the producer of our festival, Rudy,
Yeah.
at a different festival in another country?
Exactly, in Kosovo. Yeah.
So you were premiering the film in Kosovo,
Exactly.
and Rudy, who's a Wyoming native, has been living in LA for well over a decade, who brought the film festival here to Wyoming. He was judging a film festival in Kosovo.
Yeah, in Ferisag in Kosovo. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was saying, he said, I met some cool guys in Kosovo. They're gonna come to Wyoming for our festival. I said, no way.
Yeah. It was when that festival finished. He wrote me and he said, "What's your email? I'm going to send you something." No? And it was an invitation to come here. I was really willing to come here to America, and this was a really good excuse because at the end, with the festivals, you surround yourself with a lot of filmmakers, you meet a lot of people, and yeah, it's a really enjoyable experience. No, and
That's fantastic. That makes us so happy to hear. So with this film, can you tell us a little bit about the story, the plot,
Yeah.
what's going on in the film itself?
okay, it's a film. It's really short, 5 minutes, being this kind of format of 45 hours.
Right.
We really wanted to keep it simple and grounded. So it's a story about a being that lands into the earth. It's a sci-fi short film.
Love it.
Yeah, and it finds that society is a bit like it's full of discrimination about
Oh, yeah.
the look of the people, and
Yes.
so this being finds a point to go back to its planet, no?
Yes.
So, but cannot reach that place because how the body it embodies looks, no? So
Oh, yeah.
has to be changing body constantly to get that objective. So we talk about discrimination in some way and how we are judged by our looks in some way, and something that usually we don't choose, no?
Oh, wow.
How we look, or if we are male or female, or
Yes.
the color of our skin. So, yeah.
Wow. Now I'd imagine that pulling something off like that, especially in 48 hours, does the film have a lot of special effects or anything like that?
That's
None.
the idea. Yeah, because when you get sci-fi, at the end you had a lot of ideas because spaceships.
Right.
explosion, I don't know. In this idea, we had to change bodies. No, this
Right.
inhabits different bodies. So we thought about, for example, Under the Skin from Jonathan Glazer, which is a really good
Yes.
sci-fi movie. It's really grounded. It's really like simple in that way. You don't see anything. It's really human in some ways.
Yes.
So we wanted to play that idea and always show the before and the after usual visual sci-fi stuff.
Right. Okay. So was that a challenge as an editor? So it sounds like this being that's come down from a different planet has to embody a bunch of different. So does that mean you had to use a bunch of different actors to play
Yeah,
this being?
exactly. When you enter in this kind of festivals, you usually get your team before because you
Right.
start writing in the night. You are not going to start calling people because of the script, you know.
Right.
So we decided we wanted to work with 3 actors, and then we had some extras also. So when we were writing thinking on these actors.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
so-
great.
Yeah.
I love it. See, that's what I love about creativity in general. I love the idea of saying, all right, here's what you get, make something out of it in the moment.
Exactly. It sharpens your creativity in some way, no?
Yes. So let me ask you this. So you know, you're making the film, you've edited the film, and it's obviously getting so much success, over 100 selections worldwide from something you just created in 48 hours. Was that because you and everybody involved, do you feel, had a massive love of film and filmmaking? Do you think that's the reason it's been so successful?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, when you do something with passion, no, at the end, this is an exercise, no?
Right.
So we decide to make a team of people that are passionate about this and want to play with the format, no, or the audiovisual language.
Yes.
So that was the idea, and we were full into it, like not sleeping. It was really fun to do it. We found a lot of problems in the way, but the team was really strong, no? And
Yes.
at the end, we reached this result in which we are really happy with. Yeah.
Obviously, and not
Yeah,
just you, it seems the rest of the world is very happy with what you came up with. And that's so cool. So you're saying that the real secret to the success of this film was how passionate everybody was about making it.
Yeah, and being also conscious about your limitations at the end, because we were aware about we don't have time, we don't have money to do this. So we try to be smart with it.
Right.
Yeah. So that's also a key. For example, we decided only to have only like 11 shots to tell the story, like one shot per scene. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know if you know the director Roy Anderson, Ari Aster from Hereditary, for example.
Yes.
Ari Aster, before doing Hereditary, he did a lot of short films, which were a lot of like this, no, like playing with a static shot.
Yes.
Tripod.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, this is interesting, because speaking of Ari Aster, you know, he's sort of taken the world by storm. I mean, as far as major length films, he's only got 3, right? That have and the new one's just coming out. And he's kind of created this whole new thing where, you know, horror films originally, for the most part, granted, of course, there are some great classic horror films, but horror films were always kind of known as like the quickest, easiest films to make. And you don't really expect too much substance, but it's like he's taken the horror genre to where now it's inspired generations of really artistic filmmakers.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. It in the 70s it started this way also with Rosemary's Baby, but
Right.
and now we did follows in the 2011, and then Ari Aster with Hereditary or in The Witch, for example.
Right.
Yeah. They are like really deep topic, no?
Yes.
Yeah. And really well directed also, like with a lot of resources, not only like a quick jump scares or this kind of things. Yeah. So
and so that was the big inspiration. You wanted to do something much more cinematic and thought provoking than.
Yeah. Because of the limitations also, we had to play with these like static shots, but we wanted to tell not only the story of the character, which is making some decisions. If he's like talking to a diary in some
Right.
way, you see in the background and in different layers other information in
Right.
order not to have a lot of shots, because if you do a lot of shots at the
Right.
end, some of them are not going to be in the level we wanted, no? So we were really aware about that. I wanted to do like 11 shots, but very well work with a lot of work behind, no, in these shots. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's so great. So let me ask you one last question. How long have you been doing this? How long have you been a part of filmmaking, and has filmmaking been a part of your story?
Okay, since I was 12 when I started doing short films, stop
wow.
motion short films. And in high school, we made a musical short film,
Wow.
which really worked in festivals, and we won a festival in our region, no, in a
Wow.
local award. And then I saw there in the theater when we were selected and they screened the short film, and I saw people reacting to the short film in a way I didn't expect. No,
Yes.
so they were laughing, and at the end of the short film, it was kind of emotional. And in that moment, I realized I wanted to do this. So I started work. I went to university, started working in university, and then I started my production company.
Amazing.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
so now you have a full-on production company.
Yeah, yeah, and we are producing feature films, documentaries, and a lot of advertising. Yeah.
That's awesome. And do you have anything coming? Anything in the works right now?
Yeah, we have one film. We just finished shooting it like
Wow.
last month. We think it's going to be really good. We had 3 amazing actors. One of them is really well known for Money Heist, the series.
Yes,
Netflix.
Money Heist. Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. The policeman, no? The head
No,
policeman.
that's
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, so we finished that, and we are starting producing 2 more films for next year. So yeah, we want to keep doing this, and sometime if we find the time to do other short films, we are going to do it, because mainly I am a producer now,
Yes.
and I am directing advertising. If I can find the time, I want to write and direct also my own movies.
Amazing. And for all of our people watching right now, where can they find you? Where can they see some of the work that you've done before?
Okay, we have a Instagram page and a website. We are Twin Freaks Studio.
Twin Freaks?
Yeah.
Twin Freaks Studio. I know you're going to remember that. Twin Freaks Studio.
Yeah, because my brother and I are twins.
Oh, no
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. And now we work together, like doing different work in different departments, no? Like
Right.
production. But yeah, and we keep working together. Like we were working with 12 years old, and we keep
Great.
doing it. So yeah, it's really great to work in what you are really passionate about. So we are really happy with it.
That's amazing. Well, we are so happy to have you here. This is Pedro Poveda. The film's Into the Vortex. Come out to the Wyoming International Film Festival. We've got 3 more days. We've got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of films from all over the world. Thank you so much for coming out and coming on the podcast. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
All right. That
Thank
was
you.
great. Thank you so much. That was fantastic.
I turn it off.
Alright, so this is where we pretend. This is where, yeah. Why don't you give me more? 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 Why don't you give me more?
Why don't you give me more? Why don't you give me more? Why don't you give me more? Why don't you give me more? Why don't you give me more? Why don't you give me more?
What is up, everybody? This is Dominic Syracuse from the Y Original Podcast. We are broadcasting live from the Wyoming International Film Festival here in Cheyenne, Wyoming, specifically at the Spa Theater in Laramie County Community College. We are broadcasting live from the red carpet. It has been an amazing past couple days. The festival started Wednesday. We've gone all the way to Sunday. We've got 148 films from dozens of different countries and all over the United States. We're welcoming some amazing filmmakers like Mr. Edward here, who we have. Would you like to introduce yourself to the audience and let them know what film is yours?
Hello, everybody. I'm do I sound sexy enough? Okay. So my name is Edward Worthy. I have a short film that is called Rear here at the Wyoming Film Festival. And Rear is a story about corporal punishment and how it's still legal in 17 states right now. Colorado and Idaho are two states that just recently banned it about a couple of months ago. And the story is pretty much based upon this Black mother who finds bruises on her son about a corporal punishment incident that she initially had agreed to, but she thought went too far. And then when she goes to the school to address the issue with the teacher and the principal, this principal is a white woman who pretty much pivots her to an agenda to try to ban corporal punishment in the district and try to persuade the other Black parents to help her to ban it as well. But the other Black parents aren't as receptive, so it causes a little bit of tension within her Southern community. And so that's pretty much just a story about her arc of just becoming a Black mother and knowing what is the best way for her to child rear her son.
That's so interesting. I mean, it's a very moving story, and I can tell you're very passionate about it. Where did the concept come from in making the film?
So I was originally just trying to research for another script of mine, and I started looking at different educational policies at different schools, and I ran across this story in New Orleans where this priest was trying to ban corporal punishment at this all boys Black school. Okay. And all of the parents took offense to it because his reasons were saying that these children are going to grow up to be violent. He was using all these psychological means to explain why they should ban it, but the Black parents took that as an offense, thinking that, okay, you're saying that these kids are going to be violent. We went to this same school. We were paddled. I'm just fine. I'm an attorney. I'm a doctor. And so they felt like it was something that was an attack on them and their culture. And so I thought it was something interesting because a lot of times, I'll see people that say, oh, you're not touching my child. You're not doing that. But then to see that there were actually parents that were defending it, and then to research a little bit more, I realized that there's an opt-in clause now for corporal punishment, and that you can opt in or out at different schools. And so a lot of parents that opt in, they are, pretty much allowing the teachers to do it, for whatever reasons, whether they don't want to do it themselves or they feel like that they need, that their son or their daughter needs that. And so I thought it was an interesting story because I went through it when I was about 6 or 7. It was my first time, and I got paddled by this big, strong Black woman.
Yeah.
It's a big, strong, and it left bruises on me, and my mom saw it, and she was shocked, and she went to the school, and it just became this whole thing. And I didn't really even know that it was an issue because that was just something that happened all the time. We got paddled all the time, and then she knew what was going on, but she felt like, okay, this time this woman went too far. And so that was just a story that was on my heart, and it was something that I knew personally that I had never seen anyone ever tell in any type of cinematic form. So I want to address it in my own way. And that's how the story came to be.
See, that's so cool that obviously that's what filmmaking is all about, right? Yeah. Is having an outlet for something that you're passionate about, something that you believe in. Now, I want to bring up something interesting because originally you're from the South, right?
Yeah. I'm from Mississippi.
You're from Mississippi.
Yeah.
So my mother grew up in Louisiana.
Okay.
So right just down the the street in New Orleans, right? Yeah. And it's funny because growing up, that's something that I hear. I love you, Mom. My mom's gonna whip me for even saying this live on a broadcast right now. But that was something she grew up with, was always like, I had to get the switch, very typical Southern things that we're used to. But now it's very frowned upon. And that's something that my mom, it's funny because my mom's that typical sweet Southern lady,
Yeah.
everybody's sweetie and honey
Yeah,
and all that, you know what I mean?
She baking pies.
Exactly. Right. But then it was like one of those, I made the mistake of like flipping my mom off one time when I was 6 or 7.
Oh,
And you better
no.
believe, oh man,
Yeah,
I
didn't do that.
still have bruises. But now that's something that she's passionate about, where she's like, she's like, I now that you can't discipline your kid, everybody's running wild and all
Yeah.
that. So she's takes that stance with it. And I wonder if you think that's a very Southern specific thing, because I grew up here in Wyoming,
Yeah.
and that's something that none of my other friends were ever, that like talking to them about that, when I would talk to them about how normal it was, just getting spanked growing up,
Yeah.
how they're like, what, really? No way. Like, we wouldn't, what? Wow. They can't even imagine it.
I think corporal punishment is more of a regional thing, but I think spanking is still universal.
Right.
Like, I feel like I can talk to a black person in Oakland, I can talk to one in DC, and they will all share that commonality. I was looking at a story that happened during the riots a few years ago in Baltimore, and this mother was afraid that her son went to the riots because she was afraid of what might happen to him. So she spanked him in public.
That was a very viral video.
So, like,
I remember that.
A lot of times, a lot of black women, they will spank their kids out of fear. They want their children to be in a position where they're going to go out and respect the law, respect authority, because they just want them to come back home.
Right.
So that's why they spank them there. And so that causes its own trauma. So a lot of times we still have a lot of commonality in various places in the country of still using that physical force at home just because we want our children to come back home.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And let me ask you this, because even you talking about it, it sounds like you've been very responsible in the filmmaking aspect of it, to where it sounds like you're doing a very amazing job of showcasing both sides of this issue, and the different ways people are looking at it and advocating for it. Do you have a strong stance that you're willing to kind of stand up for about it?
I don't think we should be hitting our children in school. I took both sides in the film where I'm having parents voice their opinion, because I feel like we need to understand each side. We need to understand the side that says that we shouldn't, and we need to understand why these parents are so advocate on why they should keep doing it, so that we can find a result. Because I feel like if you don't listen to one side, you just have your own opinion, and then you go above that side and you're trying to get things banned, and then you just have these parents fighting back because they feel like their culture is being attacked, or you don't understand what their issues are. Like a lot of times with these parents, the other options for their children is be suspended and they're at home, and these parents have to work. And so, like, corporal punishment is like the best option for them, because it's something quick and it keeps the kid in school, or it keeps them in school suspension. And so a lot of times you need to try to find alternate ways to where you can have funding for children for behavioral programs, or different alternatives, so that they're not being put out of school. Like, we need to find ways where we're not just trying to find a quick fix to these issues. And a lot of teachers and schools don't have that patience, unfortunately, or the financial means. So I'm on the side of trying to find a way to find alternate ways instead of physical force or taking kids out of school.
I love that you say that, because I do a lot of work with behavioral management and things like that. And oftentimes I kind of liken it to pulling weeds. And what I mean is, anybody who pulls weeds knows that you can't just pluck it off at the head. You're not doing anything, right? You have to go down to the roots and then pull it out. And you find out that a lot more come out. Like, all these things that look like separate weeds are all coming from the same root. And behavior's the same way. Oftentimes when we see a child misbehave, we want to just yell at them or smack them because we don't like that individual behavior. But what we don't realize is, if the behavior is not great or ideal, it might be coming from a deeper place. And so it's more important to get down and to see where the heart of it's coming from.
A lot of people don't have patience for that. And that's something that has to be grown in you. Like, a lot of things have just been so instant. Just even growing up, it was always taught just to spank them, and it's gotten so bad to it's an ideology at this point. Like, when I researched about the Wyoming school situation, it was more structural. It's like the Republican was saying, oh, he doesn't want teachers to be involved in trying to break up fights and all these different things. So it feels like there's a structural thing. But when I looked at Texas, they rejected the ban for the bill back in April, and it was more, oh, kids have to fear God, and kids have to fear discipline, and so everything felt more of like a spiritual thing to them.
Interesting.
So it feels like they believe that in their spirit, and so that's harder.
Right.
That's harder to change.
Right, because what we're talking about now is we're talking about changing generational norms.
Yeah.
Right, to
Yeah.
where, I mean, and that's so much like what I hear with any kind of change is people's excuse or reason is a better word, is they go, this is what my parents did.
Yeah.
This is how I was raised.
Yeah.
This is, and
Yeah.
and so it's like you were saying, people saying, well, I became a doctor, I became a lawyer, I became.
It's a pride element because if you think your parents ended up fine and then you think you went through the same thing, you don't see an issue with it. And a lot of people do not want to be faced with their flaws or their insecurities. So they want to know that they have turned out just fine. And in the things that happen in their life that shape them to be who they are, they feel like those were the proper things. And so they want to be faced with things that say, oh, this caused me trauma, or this is a flaw in my character. And so that I feel like that creates that answer of generational, oh, this happened to me, so I have to keep doing it for my child.
Yeah. So shifting very slightly, what I can tell just from talking with you is it seems like you're a very passionate activist.
Yeah.
And so do you feel like film is your medium for activism? Or do you do activism outside of film as well? How did that come to be?
Yeah, I think I'm learning to do that with my art. I know during the George Floyd riots, I was more so in the art activism. My wife was on the streets. My wife was like, well, I'm going out on the streets.
Yeah, she said, make whatever films you want. I'm gonna be there.
I was like, you better be safe, but I'm gonna still pay attention to what was going on. My main thing was during that time, I wanted to pay attention to what people were saying.
Yeah.
Like I know that there were people that I knew that were upset that there were kids out there like bashing things and like these were black friends of mine. They were upset that people were out there destroying property, and they said, well, how is this going to fix anything? And I have other people that said that we've tried to be silent and diligent long enough. Like we have to disrupt the norm for them to pay attention. And so those are things that I try to pay attention to both sides, to understand the psychological aspect of just this moment of change, of just this racial tension going on, that's still going on. Because it's unfortunate that the George Floyd situation, his murder, it caused so much change in white America, but it was things that had been going on for decades.
Right.
And it took a global pandemic for everybody to be sitting at home, not having anything to do, to actually pay attention. Like, why are the Redskins all of a sudden want to change their mascot? Why all these companies want to change all these things? So I think it's just an element of just being able to pay attention. And with the corporal punishment element, it's like a lot of times that happens in schools, where it happens in rural areas, so you don't even know that it's going on. So of course, if you don't know if it's going on, you turn a blind eye to it. We all see police brutality in the news constantly. So when it comes to these educational issues, like, these are things that I'm trying to do as an artist, to put that out there so that we can know that these things are going on, and so that we can start having a voice in it.
I love it. I mean, I think that's incredible, because going back to, what happened with George Floyd, there was somebody had said, somebody very famous and prominent, I can't remember exactly who right now, but they had said that there isn't more police brutality. It's just now that everybody has a cell phone and everybody has a means of filming it. Yeah. Now there's more accessibility to show it. Yeah. So people are seeing it more. And so, as you said, this is another example of using film as a way of showcasing or highlighting something that's going on to hopefully move social change forward. And would you say that's like your pure mission as a writer, director, filmmaker?
Yeah, my main thing right now, I want social change. I want to be able to put Black people in unique situations in my film where we haven't seen them before, where we've always seen, white American. I want to be able to put us in unique situations, whether it be through drama, through horror, where it can send a social message through it. So, I still want to provide entertainment value just through dialogue, through conversation, but I also want to be able to have people have to think about, just think about the messages in it. With Rear, the main thing is about child protection.
Yeah.
Adults have such a voice for what a child does, whether it's at the home, whether it's at the school. The child doesn't have the voice. So it's like, if you pledge a fraternity, if you get hazed or anything like that, that's your own doing as a grown 18, 19, 20-year-old person. For a child, for an adult to
Right.
say, okay, yes, paddle him, he has no say so in this, just because of his behavior, which could stem from things from home, from things that parents might not even realize. It could be absent father, it can be a
Right.
cousin or brother being killed. So it's like, all these things can generate into a school. A school is just trying to take all these personalities and just try to have one type of structure to deem it all successful. When you have to put in that work, because there's so many different people that go to these schools. You have to put in that work to actually speak to these students and understand what's going on. And sometimes some of these teachers, they just want to teach and go home. They
Right.
don't have the patience for all the extra things that go on.
Or the training.
They
Right.
don't.
I mean,
yeah.
it's not necessarily required for them to take psychology training or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I think that's amazing. Now, let me ask you this: when you're making the film,
Yeah.
When you're casting and everything, I
Mhm.
mean, how was that on set with the actors to go through some of these really taking on this passionate and challenging subject matter?
Yeah, I think I just had to put the actors in the mindset of just where we are in the time and in the culture. So like, for my lead actress, I just had to just sit her down and tell her, like, this is the type of woman you are. You're a Black mother, you're in your 40s, you're working a low-end job. You have so much pressure and stress on you. Like, at any given moment, things can be taken away from you.
Right.
So when your child is acting up, it disrupts your own life, and you just want everything to be perfect. So you are reacting in just that instant. Like we said,
Right.
we're acting that in that instant moment. Like, yes, okay, yes, the school calls, yes, like, just paddle him. I can't be disrupted at work. I might lose my job. So then she turns around and lashes at him,
Right.
because he is in return disrupting her job. So I'm putting that pressure on my actress so that she can give that on camera. I'm doing this to the teacher that did the paddling. I'm telling him, hey, you didn't do anything wrong in your eyes. You followed
Right.
protocol. You did what you were supposed to do. You don't feel like you did anything wrong. So, you go in there, this child disrupted your class. He tried to embarrass you just from whatever behavior was going on. You did what you had to do. This was protocol. You did it and you went on about your day. And now this woman is trying to disrupt your life. She's trying to get you fired. So that creates this tension in this grocery store scene when they're finally faced with each other. So that's what I'm trying to tell my actors, to give them scenarios that brings out the persona in their roles when they're faced with it on camera.
Wow, I think that's wonderful. I think that's the true purpose of film is, especially in our current culture, it can be difficult to have conversations.
Yeah.
Because if people disagree, or we live in an age where we can just block somebody or what, like, you don't exist anymore.
That's my wife. She'll block you quick. You get on her nerves.
That's it. You're done. You're done. Bye. But the thing is that, I saw this move. It said a move from cancellation culture to conversation culture.
Yeah,
because people are coming from a different place. And that's what I love about film, is through the camera, through the different characters, it forces you to see things from other people's perspective.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's exactly what your film is doing. So it's fantastic. Where can people see your film?
Well, right now it just played at the Wyoming Film Festival. Our next screening is at LA Shorts on
Awesome.
July 25th. And then next month we have a screening at the Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival.
Amazing.
And, then we have a screening in South Dakota. Have you been to South Dakota before?
Well, yeah, they neighbor us, so to
Okay.
go to Mount Rushmore or something.
I never even thought about going to that, but I tried to look at going to Mount Rushmore. But it was like 5 hours away. So all right.
Okay.
So those are our next couple screenings coming up. There are some more coming up, but if you want to know about more screenings coming up, you can follow my social media.
Yes,
That is Edward_Worthy. So that's EDWARD_WORTHY. That's my Instagram.
Right here on in the banner below, we have his name. Just add the underscore. Check him out on Instagram. You can get much more information on this very influential and visionary filmmaker. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
This was great.
Thank you.
Why don't you give